I'm trying to coordinate within my limits, whatever there is, and enjoying working with everybody and making this all happen. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Simon. Can I ask Alex to introduce herself?
Yeah. Hi there, I'm Alex. I'm the community coordinator for the mainlands, if you will. So I've been working mainly on Loo and supporting Downderry CLT of late. But yeah, anything to do with future community consultation or community events is what I'll be involved in. And yeah, thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Alex. Can I ask Pete to introduce himself?
Hi, I'm Pete. I'm the construction manager for 3Cs, currently running the Loo project and currently making good progress.
Thank you, Pete. And Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm finance manager for 3Cs. As the title would suggest, I look after the day-to-day financials of 3Cs, monitoring the revenue, which is largely grant-based, that comes in against the expenditure for which it's provided. I also look at the financials against potential projects, and yeah, basically look after the money.
Thank you, Rebecca. Jacob.
Hi everyone, I'm Jacob. I'm the communications coordinator. I'm in charge of all the comms, be it the website, social media, the newsletter, things like that. I also do a lot of research, some of the smaller grants and funding applications, and a lot of like the writing of publication and stuff.
Thank you, Jacob. And Nancy.
Hello everyone, my name is Nancy Parsons. I'm the community coordinator for the Isles of Scilly, for our one project here, the Carn Thomas site. So my role is to keep the community informed as a link between 3Cs Cornwall and the people here, and to gain support for it, which is going very well at the moment. Everyone's very keen.
Thank you so much, Nancy. We also have two further directors of 3Cs, Tim Walmsley and Karen Goldup. They haven't yet joined us for this meeting, but if they do later on, we'll be able to introduce you to them as well.
Linda, I'm Karen, I'm here. I am here.
Karen is there, but she's got the wrong name.
I couldn't see you, Karen, but you're masquerading as Molly.
I am, yeah, I am. Yeah, hi, I'm Karen Goldup. I'm a director, board member for 3Cs. I have been for, I can't remember, about a year now, I think. And in my previous role, or previous life, I was director of development and sales at Coastline Housing. So I've got quite a lot of experience of affordable housing and registered providers. So yeah, very much enjoying my role. I'm glad to see everyone here today.
Thank you so much, Karen. And I'm correct that Tim isn't yet with us, so hopefully he'll join us later. Tim Walmsley is our third director, who has another meeting at present, but will be along shortly. And thank you, everyone. Well, we now can move into the AGM. We expect it to last no more than 30 minutes. And at the end of the AGM, there will be an opportunity for our guests, as I would like to call them, at this AGM to ask any questions of the team in regard to the AGM information. And then when Simon is given, well, Simon is happy to take questions when he gives his presentation after the AGM. So to start the AGM, our first agenda item is the presentation of the annual accounts. As I stated earlier, please note that the 3Cs board has approved the accounts, and at this AGM we're just sharing this information with our members. So I'll ask Rebecca, our finance manager, to talk us through the accounts. Thank you, Rebecca.
Okay, thank you. If Jacob could please pull up, there we go, thank you. So obviously this was whilst a longer period than a normal 12-month financial year, it was extended to about 17 months to take us to a normal business footing at the 31st of March. The actual revenue is therefore limited in comparison to what it will be this year. We didn't have RP status at this time. We did receive the majority of our funds from grants, which were specific in what they were intended for. In the main, they were to cover staff and running costs, and also to look at certain feasibility studies and projects related to the Looe Coast Guard flats. So you can see that there we had revenue of over nearly £300,000. Most of it spent, as I say, on that expenditure, all related to the running costs of 3Cs and the project at Looe as it is currently running. Nothing too complicated in those figures. The other trading income is obviously the small amount of consultancy revenue that we achieved in the period. Do you want to move to the next page, please, Jacob? The balance sheet there, the tangible assets simply covers a small amount of IT. The debtors relates to those grants which pay in arrears, if you like. So we've incurred the expense. Once we've incurred the expense, we then claim the grant from the relevant body. The cash at bank includes the amount that was received from the community shares, which is in the region of £115,000. That isn't kept in the current account. It's kept in a separate savings account. It's entirely separate from the running of the accounts as it was at the time. The restricted funds of 95,000 is basically the amount of those grants that have been received that pay in advance, if you like. So we've got the money in advance. We haven't spent it all yet. So technically, if we were to close tomorrow, as it was at the 31st of March, then that's how much we would technically owe back to the grant funders. And that's the very simple format of the profit and loss and the balance sheet as it was 31st of March 2025. If you want to go down to page 16, Jacob. These next pages just outline a bit more detail of what was in the profit and loss, as I've already explained. So the notion of restricted funds as opposed to unrestricted funds. Restricted funds are where grants have been allocated, but for a specific reason. So we are restricted in what we can spend the money on. And therefore that has to be accounted for. It has to be reported on to the various grant funders. It's very tightly controlled and monitored, but hence the definition restricted. Consultants income, as I've already explained. Investment income, basically interest on our cash balance. The expenditure on charitable activities just tells you what we've spent our grant income on. As you can see, the vast majority there is staff costs. At this moment in time, because it was a quiet year, we actually, up until September 2025, we only had 2 members of staff. A third member, Jacob himself, was then employed in September, and myself and Pete were employed in November. So if we were to look forward to 2026, for example, that figure will be much greater, not quite double, but closer to those figures. Governance costs, things like legal fees, surveyor fees, where we've had grant money that looks at feasibility, etc. We've had professional fees to pay against that. That's what that covers. Yeah, the next page. There you go. Okay, I see somebody's wanting to be admitted. That's sort of blocking my screen at the moment. So you're on page, yeah, if you can go back up to 17, just in, because you obviously had 16 and then we went to 17, that's it, yeah. So that's just a breakdown of the costs that have already been described in the basic profit and loss. If you wanted further detail, as I say, legal and professional fees there, you can see that jumps out as being the biggest number. Next page, please, Jacob. So you're on page 18. Yeah. Again, it just covers staff costs. It says that the average number of staff employed is just, I've got it as saying, yeah, 7. So I've already intimated we have 5 full-time staff, and the rest are on a consultancy basis. Next page. Page 19. That just looks at the assets that we have. As I said, it's basically small amounts of IT. Accrued income is basically where we've received money, or we've spent money rather, but not actually received it as yet. Next page, I think then we're done. Again, a breakdown of creditors, the normal things, the monthly payment to HMRC, invoice accruals, nothing untoward there. And then the balance that was on the community share account, 112,100 at that point. Obviously, there was some interest on our savings account, hence the difference between that and the cash balance of 115. So yeah, quite healthy accounts, what you would expect. We don't expect to make a profit. The funds we receive are the funds that we have to spend against specific things. 2025 was a much simpler year than 2026 will be, as obviously we have a lot more going on now, having achieved RP status and the Loo project starting. So there we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. For those who have recently joined us, I am Linda Powell. I'm the Chair of Directors, and we're just moving our way through the AGM agenda. And as I stated at the beginning of the meeting, there will be an opportunity at the end of the agenda items to ask any questions. And I'm sure if you have any financial questions, Rebecca will be more than happy to answer them. And if you do want a copy of the accounts, please just email us and we'll be very happy to send those across to you. So yes. We're now on to agenda item 2, which is a nice simple one. We must appoint our accountants and auditors for the year, and the board have approved continuing with our current providers, which are Westcott's. So that is just for shareholders to note the appointment of Westcott's as our accountants. And so I'll now move on to agenda number 3. So we're moving swiftly through, and that is the election to the board of directors. As I described earlier, we currently have 3 directors, myself, Karen Goldup and Tim Walmsley, and all of us have said that we will continue to remain as directors. So we happily are court and have 3 going forward into 2026. I would just like to take this opportunity to thank our outgoing director, Pete Warm, for all his help over the initiation stages of 3Cs. He has been, he is a specialist in amazing energy for affordable housing, and he has given his time very, very willingly and unselfishly to guide us through all the possible opportunities that there are to make our housing energy efficient. So we thank him wholeheartedly and wish him well as he finds new ways to spend his retirement time rather than helping us with our energy provision. So thank you, Pete. I would now like to move on to item 4, which is the application of profits up until the 31st of March 2025. And I'm very sorry to have to tell you that at this stage, Loo flats are not complete. So there's no rental income at present. So for those reasons, at this point, the board is unable to authorise payment of community share interest. But let's hope for those of you that are shareholders and wish to have community share interest as we move forward and 3Cs develop, there may be an opportunity for shareholders interest to be paid. So I think, Simon, if you could just nod, I think I've covered all items of the agenda. Perfect. So I'll now hand over to everyone who's attending the meeting and see if we have any questions from our virtual floor. Jacob, could you just release everyone from mute in case anyone does want to ask a question?
They'll have to unmute themselves.
Okay.
I can mute them, but not unmute them.
Okay, the power is one way. Do we have any questions? Jim, welcome. Please ask your question.
It's just a comment, really. You probably don't want to see my face, but I'll turn my camera on anyway. Just that I'm very grateful for all the work that you, Linda, and the rest of the directors, etc., and staff are doing for the 3Cs, and I'm glad to see, as one would expect, that it's in a healthy position.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you for the lovely view of the cows.
And Lou Island in the background.
Oh, your head is hiding, Lou Island. Thanks, Jim. Do we have any other questions?
No, that's all from me.
Well, thank you. Simon, do you want to proceed with your presentation, and I'll draw the AGM to a close and thank everyone for attending the formal bit of the meeting. I'm very pleased that Simon will be able to bring us right up to date, so we'll hand over and let you get on with it, Simon.
Thank you, Linda. Thanks very much. Thanks, everybody. That was possibly a world record. That was 19 minutes. I think that's really good. Well done. I'm going to quickly, I've got a presentation which is not very long and is mostly photos, honest. So I'll just run you through, as Linda says, this is from the start of the organisation, really. Though mostly it's about where we're up to now, because the thing with housing is it's fantastically slow. It just takes a long time. So very quickly, I think probably everyone's seen this one thousands of times. We're a community benefit society. We're not a charity. We have charitable status, so we get the benefits of charitable activity, but we're not on charity commission. People do look for us, but we're not there. We're registered under the FCA, Financial Conduct Authority, because we're like a community bank, because we can take community shares. We're considered to be an investment vehicle. Our team is well experienced. The organisation is new. Registered provider is the golden ticket. Very, very complex process. We got in October. That was the moment that we could actually start providing housing, because all the government money, all the certification, all the quality control is done through registered provider. Director, staff and shareholders. Our ambitions: new housing ourselves and work with existing community groups. There's several on this meeting now. Our first call is on refurbs. That's how we started with the Loo buildings. What can we do to bring those houses and those properties back into use? We're building a model that works, and critical to us is community control. People have to genuinely have a say in all of this. All right. Unlike the formal one, if you've got a question, just stop me, but I'll rattle through happily if not. There we are, the famous photo. There's the flats. The yellow line divides our bit to the left from the private owners to the right. Tiny, tiny little houses, little flats. They're old Coast Guard cottages broken up, we think in the 50s, we think by the council. Very tricky site. They gradually emptied out over the years. The council, for various reasons, didn't do anything with them, and it became an eyesore, became an embarrassment, really. So as a tiny, tiny operation, we stepped in, bought them for £1. You might remember, got a bit excited in the media at that time, and got on with it. Now we started talking in 2022. We started on site in 2026, and that's a reasonable timescale for these things, I think. There's some pics. Top left is what the rear wall looked like when we took them on. You see the vegetation there. That slope is opened up there by the guys working in the orange. That slope is genuinely dangerous. The trees are not secured. There's no fencing. There's no control. The neighbours, the tenants reported stones were falling into the backyard. There was no way. So we got the guys with the abseils and the helmets. They've cleared that and made it safe, and they have put geotextile netting across it so it's secure. And there's a sample shot of the scaffolding, proving we are actually genuinely on site. Hooray! Took a while, and of course, Pete Butler will gladly tell you that we started a project to strip a roof in the worst winter for living memory, I think, rain-wise. So it's been a hell of a challenge. The guys on site have been amazing. When they can't get on the roof, they're inside working away. So surprisingly little time has been lost, despite the terrible conditions. So that's been brilliant. There's the money. Of course, we buy the thing for £1 because we've got to raise £2.5 million, which we duly did, and we're busily spending that now. There's the total. The community shares total there is different to what Rebecca gave you, because that includes match funding from community share investment organisations in Manchester and Bristol, who put in 140,000 between them. That's why the two things are different. Lou timetable, I've just said the slope stabilised, most of the roof is off. The works continue now through to early 2027. On that basis, we need 6 months, no less, to set up our system, of advertise, select tenants, check them, confirm that they're eligible, and move them in. So we'll be starting, if all goes well, autumn this year on finding tenants. Lou CLT that we helped set up in Lou. Catherine Cobb's here, I think, trying to get in the meeting. Have been involved all the way through. They'll be involved in tenant selection, in the support for tenants, and in reporting back to the Lou community. It's been a long, long journey. My voice worked at the start of all this, doesn't it now? But we finally got there. Hooray! We finally got there. With a little bit to do, don't get me wrong, but we're on site. Things are actually happening. Next, Coombe Park in Downderry. You can see it pretty clearly from the picture there. The site is the red roofs, except for that one there with the arrow. That's the current owners. They are selling us this site. In fact, they're not selling us the site at all. They're selling the site to a newly formed Downderry Community Land Trust called Deviot Community Trust, who are getting the freehold. We then take a long lease and we build out that site. It's a prime spot. There's the church, there's the school, that's the main road through Downderry. Very unusually, it's not some field up the end of a long single road, so it's a really big opportunity. It's a big site, 22 1 and 2 bed homes on there. That removes the housing need for that size in that parish. That's a big win. That matters. It's very, very rare that something can happen like that. So we're chuffed to bits with this. There's where we're at. Deviot Community Trust are currently arranged. They're right smack in the middle of arranging a soft loan, which is a loan on very, very low interest over the next 4 years to buy that site and secure it for this project. Okay. The local people are doing that. Alex, who you've met earlier, organised the public meeting. Terrific support in the village for all this. Deviot will manage that site. There's tenants on there at the minute. That carries on. They look after it while we raise the big money. It's a lot of money. There's a demolition to be done. We've got to move the tenants off, move them back on. It's looking like £4 million, might be a bit more. It takes time. So sometime in the course of next year, we finish all that and we're ready to go. We then take a long lease. 125 years is the minimum. The funders prefer much longer than that. We take the lease, we build the homes, we manage them, and we report back to the community through Deviot Community Trust, who retain the ownership as a guarantee for the community. Yeah, it's a brownfield site. It's demolition and rebuild, so we've got an excellent chance for a full green energy solution here. Very good insulation, solar panels, of course, heat pumps, the whole shebang, so that bills go really low and the carbon impact of that site is as low as it can be. This is a great example of where we want to get to in local communities, identifying a site, working with local people, building the energy, building support, and we provide the technicals, we provide the financial expertise, and we make it work. It's a big deal, this one. There you are. Start building work 2027, if all goes well. Long project, tenants in 2029, no earlier. Might slip, whatever. Right? Who's coughing? That's Rebecca.
Yes.
Now, look at that view, everybody. That's where Nancy lives there. Now, this is Carn Thomas Primary School that I'm circling here. It's been out of use as a school for many years. And the Duchy of Cornwall didn't really know what to do with it. Their investment system won't allow them to build housing because they're obliged to make serious return on investment, which you cannot do with social housing. They've agreed to sell us that whole property there for £1, a la Lou, on condition that we create in perpetuity social rent homes for local people. And that's what we're going to do. These buildings here, where are they? These buildings here are the original school. They're staying. These monstrosities here are 1960s and 70s. They're going to be rebuilt in a more synthetic style. We'll end up with a beautiful location, car parking down the back here, courtyard out the front with a garden with play equipment and so forth, private gardens out the back. Very, very nice site. This one is on hold. We're waiting for the Duchy. Nancy's been very, very positive and optimistic, and I like that. We're still working away. We're waiting for the Duchy to get their costing, their timing, and their approval sorted. End of March, early April, I think we agreed to say. Nancy, we said April, didn't we? Okay. It's not there yet. It's behind Downderry, but it's coming. Situation in Scilly is even more critical than the mainland Cornwall. Demand for housing is huge and supply is really, really low, very low population. There is a risk, discussed regularly on the islands, that it might not work for that community because young people are leaving. People are having children somewhere else and they're not going back. The other side is the build costs are extremely high. You've got to move every block, every piece of timber, every piece of glass onto a boat and off again with all the costs involved. Most commercial or profit-based solutions will not work on the islands. A non-profit system using high grants, community shares, and a mortgage, tiny little 3Cs might be the answer, which is fairly extraordinary when you think about it. That's the truth, though. I'll say we have got one other project that we're negotiating about at the moment on mainland Cornwall. I'm not allowed to talk about it in public. We should know within the next 4 weeks if it's running or not, and then we'll announce it. It's a really good one. I won't say any more. I don't want to start teasing or anything, but there is one more thing. Okay, nearly there. Our biggest problem is capacity. There's not many of us. You've just met everybody, and the potential interest in what we're doing is huge. There are inquiries almost every week, many of them really interesting, really good projects. We're not taking on new offers. It would be unwise to do that until we've cleared some of the current work and or raise some more money to increase our staff size and work better. We're talking to funders, we're talking to government, we're talking to Cornwall Council. People like what we're doing, people with money. I think we're in with excellent chance to expand. And I've written in there, we have to be careful. Housing projects are slow. 2022 for Lou, 2026 for on site. It's very easy for a community group with all the expectation and all the excitement to overcommit, go too far too fast, or get in financial trouble. It has happened. Groups actually fail because they take on too much at a time. It's a genuine risk and we've got to watch it. That's our biggest restraint at the moment. Last one, I think. 2 directions from here. 2 separate ways forward. The first is what we're doing now in Lou, in Downderry, on Scilly. Complex sites that nobody else wants to do. They're expensive, worthwhile in themselves, worthwhile in environmental terms. No greenfield sites used up. Really good if we can make them work, and we think we can. However, alongside that, the small rural sites, we're talking to groups across the county. We've got one in this room now, in this meeting now, in particular, about the fact that we need to be supporting the small, high-energy community groups that know where the sites are, that have the interest, that have the support, but don't have the specific technical abilities, especially the finance. As we build up our skills, it will be really interesting to find a new development and work with the small setups. 3, 4, 5 houses at the edge of a village, filling in gaps in a village. The big players don't want to know. They're very complicated to do. We want to do that if we can raise the money, if we can make it work. That's it, I think. That's where we're at. It's been a journey, but we are there. There you are. Thank you for listening. Any thoughts, any questions? Over to yourselves. Thanks very much. Any good? That's where we're at.
Well, Simon, I think you're going to get away without any questions.
Yay! Not a problem.
We've
Everyone's
stunned our audience.
Stunned with excitement and delight. Okay.
That's
definitely a world record in meeting time then.
Yes. I should perhaps say, Simon, that everyone will have the opportunity to go through all of this again just as smoothly in the autumn, when we will hold our next AGM for the financial year April 25 to March 26. I do have a little hand raised, so please do go ahead.
Hello.
It'll make Simon's day if somebody asks him a question.
Well, that's what I thought. He can't not have a question, really, because I wanted to say that it's Jill Fine and Barbara Fine. We helped support you when you started off. It's lovely to see things are up and running. I hadn't realised you were doing 2 other projects as well, so you are doing a lot with very few people. I just want to come back to the Lou project. You showed a slide to say you were going to be trying to get the applications for tenants coming in. Is there still excitement and interest in local community of Lou of getting the tenants in soon? Because when we came to visit it, they said, oh, there was lots of interest and there was 1 remaining tenant that was moving out. Could you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure.
Are you still engaged with everybody down there? Are they still excited about it, keen to get on? No shortage of volunteers, no shortage of potential tenants, that sort of feeling. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for that. Yeah, the part of the I think what we learned in a bit of a harsh way at the beginning, I think we raised expectations too high in Lou early days, partly because we were new to all of this, but also because the RP thing, the paperwork took a lot longer. So the interest, the initial excitement slid away a little bit as we came to realise just how slow this is, all right? like I was saying about commitment and over commitment in general, we have to be careful not to restart the excitement with an actual build and an actual offer until we know we're 6 months from finishing. Do you see what I mean? You wouldn't want to go 9 months and then have people dangling for 3 or 4 months at the end of it. So goodness knows the demand hasn't dropped. That's not an issue. Our requirement is to be careful with managing that need. All right. We'll be looking at 150 or more applications that are eligible, that are from the town of Looe, because that's still our commitment to the community. It's people who've got those connections. There's a lot of need. One of the sad things is we'll be turning away a lot of people who would love one of those homes and is entitled to them. But 11 is what we've got with the existing tenant 10. So yeah, still there, still kicking, and for relatively soon now, it's going to get very noisy again. That's where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon, and thank you for the question. I think, once we've actually started on site, the interest around we're actually there, we're actually starting to deliver the project is building, and I'm sure Pete, who's on the ground every day, will have a stronger sense of the community's interest in what is happening day to day. But as Simon says, tenants, the queuing of tenants will pause until we actually get closer to the end point. I've noticed that Tim Walmsley, our third director, has joined the party, so I perhaps would just ask Tim to introduce himself so that our stakeholders and friends and shareholders can see Tim's lovely face.
Thanks, Linda. Apologies for being late, everybody. Back to back all evening. So my name's Tim Walmsley. I'm one of the directors, and in my personal capacity, I'm a property lawyer for Stephen Scone, where I head up the social housing team.
Thank you, Tim. That's a very precise and clear definition of your parameters and interest. Thank you. Simon, is there anything else that we need to cover this evening?
I think that's it. Thanks, Linda. I think we're there. Everybody at any time is welcome to write in for information. Of course, to get the accounts, Jacob's going to put all this onto the YouTube, I think, Jacob, in due course, for revisiting. Several people said sorry they couldn't come, so we'll get them to see that. And there you have it. Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Can I thank everyone, because I know it's always a difficulty to spare the time to come to an AGM, but I hope you've got a little taste of the amazing work that our 3C's staff team is doing. They're working so hard with lots of different opportunities bouncing around all the time. So from the directors, I would like to thank them, and also the time that our volunteer directors give to 3C's is also very important. They bring a lot of expertise to the table. So thank you, my fellow directors. I will say good night, and I hope you all have a lovely and enjoyable evening. Thank you.